You are now listening to the Purple Fox Podcast.
Update.
What's going on, everybody? This is your host, Kevin C. Eze, once again with another Purple Fox update. And today, I'm talking about the rise of Dank Brandon. I actually dressed a little bit like the part in honor of one of my favorite Dank Brandon memes so far. Let me go ahead and give you a chance to look at that, see what it looks like. Looks pretty nice. I like it. It looks so dope. Well, anyways, President Joe Biden made huge waves online Thursday when he announced that he would be pardoning minor drug offenses surrounding the use and possession of cannabis. This prompted the undefeated spirit of the collective internet to upgrade his status from Dank Brandon, the comic strip with him raging with the red eyes and to what many, including myself, are calling the rise of Dank Brandon. The move sent most cannabis stocks soaring by 20% or more, foreshadowing what is to come from a host of retail investors who are just waiting for the legalization of the herb in question. However, despite the major announcement, many are asking if he deserves such a cultural elevation and swag based on his past stance on the issue, even going so far as to fire a few of his staffers who were cited for marijuana usage within his own administration. There is also the issue of one Brittany Griner, the unlucky women's basketball star who unfortunately got herself caught up in an international power struggle between Russia and the Western world due to her possession of cannabis products abroad. In a HuffPost article by Philip Lewis entitled "Biden Issues Blanket Pardons for Simple Marijuana Possessions, Calls for Legal Reforms," Biden acknowledged that he would need more than his word alone to affect real change in this area, calling on governors to follow up on their side and bring the full weight of his pardon to fruition. A senior official within his administration went on record saying, quote, "We can't do it alone. The president is calling on governors to take this action as well. This is important as the vast majority of marijuana convictions are state convictions," end quote. Within the article, Biden was also cited saying, quote, "Criminal records for marijuana possession have also imposed needless barriers to employment, housing, and educational opportunities. And while white and black and brown people use marijuana at similar rates, black and brown people have been arrested, prosecuted, and convicted at disproportionate rates," end quote. Yep. That's our President Biden, the same man who dismissed his weed-smoking staffers in the beginning of his term. And that's the first thing he did. He was like, "Weed smokers, be gone." That's who we're calling Dank Brandon. The irony, right? Even more ironic, to no fault of the president, is the slew of majority white cannabis entrepreneurs currently cashing in while black and brown would-be entrepreneurs are sitting in jail, waiting on the word of their respective governors to release them. Although many would point out that the fact Brittany Griner may soon be sitting in a Russian gulag is a similar point of irony, it's important to note that short of escalating to a full-on war with Russia, the negotiation around her release is subject to a number of factors as well and will require careful diplomacy. So why is this important? Why is this even important? Well, besides a large number of wrongfully sentenced Americans getting a fresh start and a clean record, there is no denying that there is a huge industrial revolution around the cannabis plant, ready to take shape after legalization. Big cannabis interests, who are already making international deals with large trades of the popular herb, are ready to pour in to the US markets, which have mostly been shackled due to Schedule I status of cannabis. It is, however, possible that there are entities within the US that will be largely impacted by the legalization of cannabis, one of the largest being Big Pharma. A Marijuana Moment article by Kyle Yeager entitled Pharmaceutical Industry Suffers Billions in Losses After States Legalize Marijuana, New Study Finds, lays out the impact the cannabis industry, however stifled, has made on the pharmaceutical industry. Yeager cites a peer-reviewed article published in a PLOS1 journal that outlines details around stock returns and prescription drug sale data for 556 pharmaceutical companies from 1996 to 2019, analyzing market trends before and after states began to sanction and legalize adult use cannabis. The stock returns were 1.5 to 2% lower 10 days after statewide legalization, and returns decreased in response to both medical and recreational legalization for both generic and brand drug makers. The study concludes that a single legalization event, meaning, say, Arkansas legalizes, Arizona, that kind of thing, reduced drug manufacturers' annual sales by $3 billion on average. That's a big chunk of change. Many would also anticipate that religious institutions would rail against this legalization as well. But the hypocrisy of that anticipated struggle is that the general population can't really take their fears around a drug that has been culturally stigmatized for generations seriously, when there is a whole industry pumping out dope-sick inducing capsules, and these righteous organizations have left those institutions virtually untouched. My true argument is this: our current economy sucks. Every day I look at my Apple Watch list, and all of the major industries, all of the major US indices, including the global ones, are blood red, just completely red paint, along with a surplus of other companies that would ordinarily be picking back up after the pandemic we just survived. It's a bit curious to me why we are stifling an industry that is literally bursting at the seams to create jobs, spark a new form of innovative hospitality, and generate massive upon massive amounts of wealth and revenue for every nation, state, city, and municipality. It makes no sense, like, literally. Pun fully intended. We also can't miss the opportunity to do right by a large portion of Black and brown entrepreneurs that would have been well established within the cannabis markets had these minor drug offenses not derailed their lives. It would be a chance to balance our economy and create true equity and wealth for future generations of Americans. Talk about a great campaign promise. Of course, much and more research has to be done on cannabis because there are still many things we don't know about its effects beyond countless utterances of he said, she said. We need solid medical and recreational data, which is even more reason to remove it from the list of Schedule 1 substances. The Schedule 1 status limits the widespread allowance of detailed research that can take place, which is a huge problem. How will we ever know it's like completely safe if we can't do the widespread research we need to do on it? So take it off Schedule 1. One thing that is undeniable is that the US has major trend-setting status. What I would be excited to see is how the cannabis trade could penetrate and possibly revolutionize international markets. Whole countries and their economies could shoot to the moon in revenue just by measure of their arable land. Already we see countries like Germany making deals with Canadian players, and Israel playing with the possibility of medical cannabis within their medical field. That's groundbreaking. Tony Owusu touches on such international market moves in his article for The Street entitled, Tilray Looks to Germany as Canada's Cannabis Industry Falters. The article states, quote, Germany gets the majority of the weed for its medical market imported from Canada, with licensed producers shipping 6,493 kilos of medical cannabis flower and extracts to Germany. About a third of Germany's imports come from Canada. Tilray is reportedly the top marijuana company in Germany, but the country's share of imports has fallen since it was above 38% in 2017. Denmark accounts for 18.1% of imports, Netherlands 18%, and Portugal 11.7%. Tilray estimates it now has about a 20% market share, end quote. So as you can see, Canada and Germany aren't even the only players in the picture. I always talk about tradition versus the avant-garde expression of humanity. And this is one of those moments where tradition needs to sit all the way down and make room for a burgeoning market. Traditional economics is what has the Dow Jones continuously beating its head against a 52-week low on a daily basis. All it would take is a bit of trust that a new market won't ruin your kids to the point of disrepair, or that society won't slip into some unending decay that we won't return from. Last time I checked, we have fentanyl for that. So we'll wait and see if President Joe Biden will rise to the occasion and show the American people that he truly deserves the name and the potential legend of Dank Brandon. Or if it's all just a ploy to trick young Americans into voting for Democrats once again. After all, many have been asking for this very same move for months, and he chose an exact month before midterm elections to dangle this particular carrot. Well, we see you, Joe. Some of us with glossy red eyes, and some of us with one hand scrolling through our portfolios. It's time for you to do something that's truly dank. Help the Puff Puff pass initiatives like S910, the Safe Banking Act, and legalize it. So this has been your host, Kevin C. Eze, once again with another Purple Fox update. Signing out.